Annuncio vobis gaudium magnam Habemus Papam eminentissimum ac reverendissimum dominam Roberto Francisco Sancte Romane Ecclesiae Carnimalam Prevost qui sibe nomen impoesit Papa Leon, or in other words, White Sox Pope. Welcome back to the Chatting Average. If you've been living under a rock, there's a new pope. Papa Francisco está muerte y la Papa Nueva es de los Southside. Stand up!
This is somehow the funniest day in organized religion in a really long time.
I saw like a TikTok like later that night after Pope Leo got, poped. Conclaved? I don't know. Whatever. Elected. And
no, he got poped. That's the term.
And it was like
poped?
and it was the cardinal electorate or whatever the guy's name is who says Habemus Papam, right? And he it was like him and he goes Habemus Papam, and then it was like El Papa Leon whatever, right? And then it switched to John Schifrin going Southside stand up when he came walking out to the balcony.
So I have seen so much content about this Pope. Not only considering the fact that he was in the stands of the White Sox World Series.
Yes,
Game two. They cut straight to him. There's pictures of him.
Wait. Okay, so that's crazy, right? Like they cut to him at one point, not knowing who he was, because this was 2005. He wasn't even a bishop. He was a bishop. Like whatever. Like somebody went through to watch those games back to see if he was anywhere, right? That is game 2, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. They watched the entire game to find the Pope. Also, the Pope saw the Pope saw Paul Konerko's grand slam. So the Pope has an opinion on Paul Konerko, which is also why he chose Leo, because he's the 14th.
So that's not. I don't think that's what that is. To tell you how excited.
That's definitely not the reason, but it's okay.
To tell you how excited John Lieber has been to find out that this Pope isn't a Cubs fan like it was originally reported, but is a White Sox fan. All of Saturday night, and I spent multiple hours with this man on Saturday. Every once in a while, he would just, like, a conversation with Lowell, he'd just go, Habemus Papa. Like, dude,
look at his face.
You have to understand that, like, this is a baseball podcast, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. You have to understand that when Haley and I went walking to go back and get the Wii, this makes no sense to anybody who wasn't there that night. But I had to like walk back to my car. We went and got the Wii, like the gaming console with somebody, and then brought it back to a different apartment. And we were like walking past, and it was like the big bar crawl day because like Columbia school is over and everything. So like all these people are dressed up as like Ronald McDonald, Marge, the Cat in the Hat, traffic cones, and I'm just like, Habemus Papam, Habemus Papam. To like every group, and like eventually we got to the nuns. I hit the Habemus Papam, and they went.
I'm so glad your mic cut out just then.
Oh my god! I mean, genuinely, we played the hit party game Jackbox, the Jackbox Party Starter, and we played Quiplash, which is one where you submit a bunch of words, right? I'd say about 40% of the words there were Habemus Papam or some variation of In nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Some variation of that.
I hate to tell you, like, John, I wish I could tell you that was mostly me. I put it in twice.
Which means somehow
it was a hit. It was a hit.
It was a hit.
It was a hit.
You know, we should probably talk about baseball.
Before we do that, before we talk about baseball, one more point that I want to make about the Pope. And this is something that I think hasn't been talked about enough. I think it is immensely funnier that the Pope is from Chicago than it is that the Pope is from America. Like, I understand a Pope being from America is pretty crazy in its own, but Chicago specifically is so much funnier.
I really thought that if it was going to be an American Pope, it was probably going to be Dolan from New York. But, like, he's also, like, an American.
Like, one from New York would make total sense. Right, it would make total sense.
But he's also an American serving in America, so, like, it's kind of interesting that it was...
He was a missionary in Peru. He was the bishop in Peru for a while.
Yeah, he was.
And it's so funny, like, this contrast between tweets where I'm seeing, y'all mind if a white boy speaks a little Peruvian, to Malort Eucharist. And they're about the same person.
Yeah, the Eucharist is now a Chicago dog and some Malort.
So
that's enough to get me back.
Everybody's got that update the next time they go to Catholic Mass.
That's enough to get me back in church, I promise.
I'm telling you. Do you think the Newman Center knows that yet?
No. I wish I could have watched the Pope announcement with the Newman Center.
You probably could have.
Well, I could have, but I was working, so like
I was like in the library, like, and I'll get a text from my sister. She just goes, Pope mode. I'm like, what do you mean Pope mode? And she's like, it's Pope mode.
I personally found out because I was brushing my teeth before I was going in for work. I checked my phone and got a tweet notification from Adam Schefter.
Oh my god.
I had Twitter notifications, like hashtag, like word notifications, like for Habemus Papam. Like, and the second it popped up, we were like, AP News! Breaking news! The American League! Do we want to get into baseball now?
Yeah.
We can if you want to.
Okay, let's see. Colorado, 1-3. Atlanta, or no, 1-2. So that's what, 2-6? That's 33%. White Sox won 2 this week. We're starting in the interleague.
Okay. Remember, you have 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, but it's not as long. Do you want me to time myself again? I'll time myself.
No. Okay, all right, sure. Well.
Okay, so you can't like yell at me and then not yell at me. I'm confused.
Well.
Okay. All right. Milwaukee and Tampa Bay at beautiful George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa Bay, Georgia, Florida. Game 1, 4-3 win for the Rays. Brandon Lau, a home run. Bottom of the 8th, Taylor Walls takes a walk and Jankowski scores. They win. Game 2, Rays win it again, 3-2. Jackson Churio, a home run. But in the bottom of the 9th, Jankowski has an RBI single walk-off. Game 3, 4-2. Milwaukee takes the final game to salvage the series. Yelich and Contreras each homer in that one. Phillies and Cleveland. What a beautiful... I don't like either of these teams. Game 1, 6-0. Cleveland wins. Manzardo goes yard. Angel Martinez has a 2-run home run and J-Ram homers as well. Game 2, 7-1 win for the Phillies. Harper 2-run shot, and then top of the 8th, Phillies scores 6 because... Sure, that's just what happens there. Game 3, Sunday Night Baseball, a 3-0 win for Philadelphia. Schwarber has 2 home runs, 1 solo, 1 2-run, and Wheeler, 7 innings pitched, 8 Ks. Miami and Los White Sox de Pope Land. Game 1, 6-2, White Sox win it. Vaughn, home run. Chicago White Sox score 7. Nope, they just score in the bottom of the 7th. There should be a number there. I don't know how many it was, probably a few. Game 2 might have been 3. Game 2, 3-1 win for Miami. Vaughn also homers here. Stowers homers in top of the 8th. Wagaman has a dual RBI triple. Game 3, a 4-2 win for the White Sox. Tim Elko in his very first career hit hits a 3-run shot to put the Sox on top. Vaughn has an RBI as well on the day. Cincinnati and Houston. Houston takes game 1, 3-0. Pena, Paredes, and DeZenzo have RBIs. 13-9 in game 2. Cincinnati takes it. The Reds scored 10 in the top of the first, which I feel we may have to talk about. Ellie De La Cruz has a 3-run shot. McClain has a 2-run homer as well. Game 3, a 6-0 win for the Astros. Diaz has a 3-run shot. Walker has 2 RBIs. Blanco goes 8 innings, pitched 2 hits, 11 Ks. San Francisco and Minnesota. Minnesota takes the sweep here in the land of 10,000 lakes. Game 1, 3-1 win for the Twins. Larnach and Correa each have RBIs. Paddock goes 7.1, 6 Ks. 2-1 in game 2. Ramos has a home run and Larnach has a 2-run shot. Those are the only runs of the game. 7-6 for Minnesota in game 3. Ramos has a 2-run shot again. Brooks Lee has a 2-run shot. Bottom of the 10th, Jeffers RBIs and Deshaun Kiersey Jr. has an RBI walk-off.
So that Astros game, 13-9. Lance McCullers Jr. started that game. In case you guys forgot, Lance McCullers Jr., real major league player, not just someone that they have on the 40-man to be injured. Hasn't registered a stat since 2022. Has been built back from multiple injuries, and
he basically died and
in the 2 games he started this season, he has gone 4 innings, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 6 walks, a .333 average, good for a paltry 15.75 ERA. His stat line from this game, 3 hits, 7 walks, 3 strikeouts. No, 3 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 walks, no strikeouts, 1 home run, a third of an inning.
You know, man, just like the Vatican, it ain't 2018 anymore.
It's not.
He's going to keep doing this
anyway. The whole show.
Yeah, but just like the Vatican, it's also 2018 there.
It's not 2018 anywhere.
The thing about McCullers, if somebody has to get us back on track, is that you mentioned, John, that he has had injuries since 2022, has not thrown a baseball in an organized manner since 2022, and now is getting shelled through 2 starts back in the major leagues. But the thing about it is, before 2022, he also had another catastrophic injury, right? Like, he played that season healthy, but before that missed another huge chunk of time with a separate injury. Like, he's been hanging around the fringes of this Astros rotation since, like, just after the 2017 World Series. Like, this is not a young guy. This is not a guy who has a history of coming back from these kind of injuries. I think at this point it's fair to question how much of his career is really even left in front of him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I don't know how much he has left if he's coming back from these quadruple injuries practically. And it is just been terrible. It kind of is starting to remind me, although when Alek Manoah just like blew up, right? He wasn't coming back from injury. He just blew up, right?
Yeah, he was just bad.
He just gained weight.
Feel that, bro.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. We all have been there.
We all have done that before.
Correct.
What else here?
Garrett Crochet
didn't play in the interleague.
Oh, that's today. No, that's not. Oh, that is. I clicked the wrong one. Sorry, I was assuming he was still on the White Sox. Where is he now, John?
The team that's the Sox that doesn't have a Pope.
Okay, well, I see. That's how it's gonna be. Tim Elko.
Shout out Tim Elko, bro.
3-run homer. This is someone that has been on the doorstep for a while. When the White Sox did their Mental Health Awareness Month tweet, they were replying to everyone in the tweet, but everyone in the tweet was just talking about they want Tim Elko. And they were like, you should seek professional help. But they're like, Tim Elko when? Since in the last 7 games,
That's not
Andrew Vaughn
that's not the interactions that happened in their comments, but sure.
In the past 7 games, though, Andrew Vaughn has a 556 slug.
It's pissed me off so much.
Andrew Vaughn is not willing to leave, and it's really annoying. It's even annoying me because like Andrew Vaughn is an albatross contract. He's not been that good this season. He has a 191 batting average, but he has an 800 OPS right now over the last 7 games because he just decided to be good when his job was being threatened. And now they have to play him at the DH. There's nowhere else to go with it because you've got this guy with a 550 slug.
Do you know my favorite thing that kept happening on Twitter after Tim Elko kept getting slotted in for the DH?
What?
Can't believe Tim Elko's taking spots away from Jacob Amaya.
The legend of Tim Elko was one that was written a long time before he ever played professional baseball, right? Like his lasting legacy, regardless of how long he's in the major leagues for, his lasting legacy is going to be playing the College World Series on a torn ACL. And the fact that he's made it this far, I think, is a credit to him. I don't necessarily see him as a long-term fit for the White Sox, but I think in the short term, he's hitting the piss out of the baseball, and you got to find a place to play it. Like, it's simple as that.
The thing with Elko is that when was he drafted?
22, maybe. Yeah, it was either 21 or 22.
I'm thinking it might be 21 because I feel like this name has been around for so long on like White Sox Twitter and everything.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, it's like
no, he might have been drafted in 21. You might be right about that because that was the year. No, State won that year, so Ole Miss won the year after, which means that he would have been drafted in 22.
Yeah, his first stats logged in the minors were 24 games in 2022, which he reached Kannapolis Cannonballers in single A.
Drafted 2022, yeah.
Yeah.
Round 10, 311th overall. Anyways, it's like he had this really odd thing that it was like when the Sox are bad, you know, everybody just turns to the farm system and like you pay more attention to that like on the farm segment of your like team broadcast, and it's like, well, you've got Colson Montgomery and he's doing this, this, and this, and you've got Jesse Schultens who struck out 10 yesterday, and then it's like, and Tim Elko's hit 13 home runs in the last 12 days. Like, okay, why is Tim Elko in the minors? And he was like killing it at like the AA level forever on the Barons. And it was like, cool. At some point, maybe they'll call him up. And it took all the way to this point. And I don't know. I mean, he's got one hit on his college career or his high school, on his major league career right now. It's a home run, 3 RBIs. Like,
third time, but we got there.
But like, who cares? Like, he's like, let him play.
That's the thing. Like, he doesn't need to be a long-term fit.
No,
there's no such thing as a long-term fit with a team that's this bad.
I say, let me have some fun watching that big man swing the bat. Go.
Exactly. Man. Exactly.
All right.
Anything else that sticks out over the IL, or shall we move forward?
The only thing other than, like, we already talked about him, but, like, Cincinnati scored 13 in one game and then 0 in the 2 around it. Like, figure out your darn offense. How do you have that many players on a team and you guys can't score? Every single guy runs at the speed of a gazelle, too. Like, I just don't get how you can't score. There's not a slow guy on the team.
This series, I think, was a very good encapsulation of the concerns I have about the Reds, you know, in the long term, because they have the talent to blow just about every team out. Like, they have the offensive talent to put up, you know, 10 runs a game or whatever it is, but also sometimes the talent just decides not to show up, and then they get shut out twice in a series. And if they don't figure out ways to get themselves out of those slumpy, at the micro scale, those kind of slumpy tendencies, this is a team that I don't think is built for October by any stretch.
No, as of right now, they have to figure it out, and I don't think they will, as we're in, you know, mid-May at this point.
A lot of season left.
Still plenty of time. John, flip a coin in your head.
Tails.
Ooh, bad choice. Adam,
Heads.
Heads.
See, that's how it's done. That right there is how it's done.
Ladies and gentlemen, the National League. We get to start with the beautiful game. It's 3 games in Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and the Pirates. Pirates take game 1, 3-2. Canario, home run. Triolo, home run. Bailey Falter, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits. Yep, that's how easy it is. Game 2, a win for Atlanta, 3-2. Olsen has a home run atop the 11th. Wild pitch scores Olsen. What an exciting game! Game 3, 4-3, Pittsburgh wins. Bottom of the 9th, Joey Bart reaches on a fielder's choice, and Frazier scores for the walk-off. St. Louis sweeps the Nationals 10-0 in Game 1. Contreras 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Herrera has 2 RBIs. Eric Fetty goes all 9 innings on 8 Ks. Game 2, St. Louis 4-2. Newt Barr 2 RBIs. Palante 7.1, 7 Ks. Game 3, 6-1. St. Louis wins it again. Newt Barr has a homer. Contreras has a homer, and Arenado has a 2-run shot. The Mets sweep the Cubs. Let's go, baby. 7-2. Mets win Game 1. Lindor, Beatty, McNeil, Soto, all homer. 6-5 in Game 2. Swanson homers. Beatty has a 3-run shot. Beatty has a 2-run shot. And Amaya has 2 RBIs on the day. Game 3, a 6-2 win for the Mets. PCA has a home run. Vientos, Lindor, and Nimmo each have home runs as well. Nimmo's is a 2-run shot. San Diego Padres and the Colorado Rockies. This one's got nothing to tell you about. Game 1, 13-9. The Padres win it. Maldonado, 2-run shot. A whole bunch of scoring from Colorado late, but it's not enough. Game 2. 21-0, Padres win. Goodbye, Bud Black game. Retire the jersey, retire the man. Tatis, 3 RBIs. Arias, 3 RBIs. Merrill, 2 RBIs. Cronenworth, 3 RBIs. Garrett Sheets, 3 RBIs. Hayward, 3 RBIs. And the Colorado Rockies managed to not score a run when I know for sure they had position players pitching. Game 3, 9-3 win for Colorado. Goodman has a 3-run shot. Goodman has a 2 RBI triple. I think he was, a single away from the cycle, and he did it in reverse. McMahon had a home run. That's it for that series. Colorado loses it. Or wins that last game 9-3. The Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks play 4 starting on Thursday, a 5-3 win for Arizona. Moreno has a grand slam. Marte has a home run. Ohtani homers, and I'm going to tell you that just because I'm like ESPN, and that's the only thing that matters in baseball. Game 2, 14-11 for the Dodgers. Kike has a home run. The Dodgers score 6 runs in the top of the 9th, including a Shohei Ohtani 3-run shot. Game 3, a 3-0 win for Arizona. Suarez home run. Burns goes 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 Ks. In Game 4, the Dodgers take it 8-1. Freeman hits a home run. Betts has a home run. And Will Smith, not the one who slapped Chris Rock at the Grammys, has 2 RBIs. That one is a series split 2-2.
Can I talk about Raisel Iglesias for a second?
Please.
Sure.
Last year, Raisel Iglesias had a 1.95 ERA. He had 34 out of his 38 save opportunities converted and 69 and a third innings pitched. This year, in 15 and a third innings pitched, it has ballooned to a 5.87 ERA. And a lot of that has come in the recent games. And in the most recent game in the Pirates-Braves series, inning pitched and then 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk. This is a lot of what the Braves have done has been their offense. You're not really seeing not a single player over a 900 OPS, where typically you're seeing guys like Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, really, hit the ball hard. Now you're seeing, this is a team that has Alex Verdugo leading off with a 625 OPS because their normal left fielder was on crack or PEDs. He was on PEDs, but, it's the same.
I'd say normal left fielder when he was on the team for like 3 days.
Yeah, but
he was signed to be the starter.
He was signed to be the starter. He was pretty much the only signing, period. Now you've got Nick Allen, Stuart Fairchild, Eli White getting regular playing time.
You could have guys like Nick Maton if you wanted them.
It's funny. It's really funny.
Oh, bust. Colorado,
yeah.
Bud Black, goodbye.
what's going
So
on
I
there?
have a number of thoughts about this this transgression, and what I'm going to do is say one of the thoughts that's on my mind, and then allow each of you the time to discuss before we move on to the next point. And the first point that I want to make is that Bud Black was fired not after the 21-0 game. He was fired the next day after the 9-3 Colorado win. He goes out on top. How do we feel about that?
Fantastic. I don't think he got fired because they won, though.
I think it's a good. This is gonna sound weird. It's a good thing for them to let him leave now, because I think the Monforts know that this season is going nowhere fast, and letting Bud Black, I'm sure Bud probably had some saying, like, he'll take the fall, just be like, all right, someone's got to go. Would it rather have been anyone in the front office? Probably, but Bud Black has always been a manager of. He's like if Justin Herbert was a manager. Like, if he was there in San Diego during a big rebuild, so you never really got to see whether or not he was a playoff manager or not. Then obviously they bring him over to Colorado, where he essentially engages in a permanent rebuild. So when you look at his resume,
manager for 2 years. He was a playoff manager for 2 years, right at the very beginning of his time in Colorado.
Right, for 2 years, and for someone who's been employed for the better part of 2 decades, you see it as, this is kind of a courtesy for Bud Black to be like, all right, look, get out of here while you still can, jump off the Titanic, we're going to start moving deck chairs, and, the band's going to keep playing while we go, because this is hopefully an evaluation year in Denver. The Monforts have long been criticized, and have in recent days a lot of writing has been put towards, a lot of ink has been spilled, and a lot of pixels been placed for the culture of like a very insular, almost like isolationist stance out in Denver, where they don't really bring in outside hires, they don't really make a lot of moves, because the Monforts are really confident that their internal product is honestly better than it is. And this, I don't think, is the death knell for that style of thinking. I don't think they're going to necessarily change a ton, but it's a sign of they're willing to do something. Whether or not this is just placating the fan base and just giving them a bone to chew on for a bit while they continue to lose, and continue to send their poor, hapless bullpen to their death. Frankly, it's just not great. It's not great.
John, any thoughts, or shall I move forward?
Move forward.
The number 2 thing that I think is funny about this hiring is that prior to the 21-0 game, not the game he was fired before, the game before that, general manager Bill Schmidt, spoke to the media, was asked what he thought about Bud Black's role on this team in the future, and literally in the hours leading up to this drubbing, said, Bud is our manager, we're sticking by him. Like, the organization is not looking in any different directions. And then they lost 21-0, and he changed his mind very quickly. I find that very funny.
Wonder if that was ownership pressure, though. Because, like, I feel like this happens often. No, he's our manager. That's the guy I, as the general manager, want to work with. And then the ownership's like, well, he's not turning this group of guys who can't play baseball into a World Series team, so how are we supposed to keep paying him? And I don't know. I've just, like, find it very weird that... I guess I don't find it very weird that they end up firing him a few days later. And plus, clarifying question, like, Bud Black isn't hated in Colorado, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, like
Not at all. Like
most people understand that he's like
Yeah.
not given the best hand and that he's still a good coach.
Yes, and I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that, but I have a couple more points to make first. One of the points I want to make first is actually a 3-for-1 point that I'm going to make here. This is about the game itself. The final score of the game was 21-0. I'm going to focus on the 0 because this is the second largest shutout in Major League Baseball history. So there's one. The second thing about this 21-0 shutout is that it was a complete game shutout pitched by a man named
Eric Fetty.
Stephen Kolek.
Oh.
Stephen Kolek is the younger brother of former number 2 overall draft pick Tyler Kolek. Tyler never made the major leagues. Stephen did after about a 10-year minor league career, and now just threw a 9-inning complete game shutout at Coors Field. And this is point number 3. Do you know who the last person to throw a complete game shutout at Coors Field was before Mr. Kolek?
No one?
That's right. It was Clayton Kershaw in 2013.
Oh.
Now on to my next point that I have about this game. And this one is where we start getting into Bud Black a little bit more. Bud Black is, I hesitate to say a legend in Colorado because he's been to the postseason twice. But he's been to the postseason twice when there have been every other manager in Major League in Colorado Rockies history combined has been to the postseason 3 times.
I say
So-
he's been to the postseason 40. He's been the manager of the Rockies 40%.
40% of our trips to the postseason. Yes, that is correct. Bud Black is the winningest manager in Colorado Rockies history. His record is like
I got it pulled up.
400 something and 650.
544 and 690.
Yeah. And he's the winningest manager in Rockies history. He has not had a winning season since 2018, but just got fired now. And I think the point that I'm trying to make with this is that everybody in Colorado knew that it was time for him to go. It was probably long overdue for him to go. But also, it was never his fault. You can only, the only lineup you can send in consists of the guys that are on your roster. And when you have no say in how the roster is made, ultimately you have no say in how good the team is. A quote that I want to share with you guys from Dave Roberts, who, by the way, is Bud Black's protege from their time in San Diego together. Dave Roberts said after the Bud Black firing that not even Casey Stengel could save this team. And he's right. There's no manager in baseball history that could possibly save the mess that the Rockies are right now. Firing Bud Black materially means nothing, while at the same time being several years overdue. And the final point that I want to make on this, because I'm still making points, the final point I want to make on this is not about Bud Black, but it's actually about his successor, William Schaefer. William Schaefer. Warren Schaefer, good Lord, Warren Schaefer. Warren Schaefer is the successor. It's a bit of a surprise that Schaefer was the pick instead of Clint Hurdle, who is the second winningest coach in Rockies history and also now works for the Rockies in the front office as of this offseason, and now, as of this firing, is back in the dugout because he's the Rockies' new bench coach. The fact that he was not picked to be the head coach, I think, is a sign of progress for this Rockies organization, because they're not just throwing those same wheels, the same old wheels, the same new tires on the old wheels, and they're not just running back the same stuff that hasn't worked in the past. And I think that's a sign of progress for this organization. But I also think that a perhaps even more important sign of where this organization is at progress-wise is the fact that the guy they did hire instead, Warren Schaefer, has been in Major League Baseball for about 20 years. All 20 of those years were in the Rockies organization. And before he was in the Rockies organization, he was drafted by the Rockies in 2007. This is a guy that's never had a job outside of the Colorado Rockies, and now he's getting the manager gig because the Monforts don't know anybody outside of Colorado. They don't know any baseball people. They don't know how to make hires outside of their organization because of this. No matter how smart Schaefer is, no matter how good he is at being a manager, nothing is going to change material. Nothing at all.
Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
Colorado, high, mile, high, mile,
High.
high.
Yeah,
The
it's
Mets
bad up
struck
there.
the Cubs. That was cool. Shout out the Cubs for getting beat.
Brett Beatty's back. Like,
It's true.
this is so
For
funny
what,
to me.
3
This
days?
whole Mets third base saga is infinitely very funny to me, because at some point it was, oh, it could be Ronnie Mauricio, and then it wasn't Ronnie Mauricio. They're like, well, it could be Brett Beatty,
And then
they're
it
like,
wasn't.
no, it can't be Brett Beatty. So then Brett Beatty tried out left field, and then he tried out second base. And then they're like, well, we can try Mark Vientos. And Mark Vientos stuck for a bit. He's like, okay, yeah, Mark Vientos. We've got something here. And then they brought in Brett Beatty again. But now he's at second base. Or he's at third base if you're feeling weird about it.
I am weird about it personally.
And, like,
Personally, I like him at first base. Put him at first base.
this infield is so weird. Well, the thing, and today they asked Mark Vientos, would he be willing to shift to DH to let Brett Beatty get more third base time? And he said yes, absolutely. What
Who knows?
is
bro?
going on over there?
Hang on, aren't they? I'm doing.
It's
some
only
research.
it's a shame that they don't have JD Martinez anymore, who noted Twitter ad Austin Scholar interviewed one of the best hitters in baseball, JD Martinez. For those of you who know what that is, it's very funny to you.
That's funny.
But it does, it is kind of just an open space for him, because it's not, Jesse Winker played 2 innings of outfield and then strained his oblique, which is objectively also really funny to me, that they put Jesse Winker in the field for a doubleheader and he immediately got hurt.
Very funny.
Why would you lose one of your best, the best platoon bat in baseball, pretty much, just because he was like, oh, we don't have a left fielder. And instead of sticking anyone else in left field, they're like, you, man who really can't play the field anymore, you go play left field. And he immediately goes, sure, makes a throw from left field, boom. And they still swept. That's the funny thing about it. They can't even drop a game to probably one of the best teams in the NL. Just because.
There's only one team better than them in the National League. Do you know who it is?
Who is it, John?
The Dodgers.
Los Dodgers.
Oh, yay. We didn't talk about the Dodgers enough. Did you know Shohei Ohtani's on the Dodgers?
No. We don't have to talk about the Dodgers. I don't care.
Hey, he's only 3 at-bats away right now, so.
Do you know there's only one team in the league matching their exact record right now?
Who?
The Detroit Tigers.
That's right, baby. Motor City.
Motor
I don't want to...
City Boys.
Hey, the
Motor,
Tigers
I don't-
again.
Motor City Boys. Speaking
John,
of
what's
the
the
Motor City Boys,
Yeah.
let's go to the American League. The Rangers in the beautiful city of Motor City, Detroit. Detroit takes game 1, 2-1. Colt Keith and Dingler each have RBIs. Scooball, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 12 Ks. Game 2, 10-3 for the Rangers. Josh Smith, Seager, homers twice. Smith also has a homer. Evan Carter, homer. Jock Peterson, a 2-run shot. 6-1 in game 3 for the Rangers. Simeon, a 2-run home run. Josh Young, a 2-run homer. And Jonah Heim also goes yard. Boston and Kansas City. 2-1 in game 1 for the Royals, 0-0 after 9 innings. Both score 1 in the 11th, but bottom of the 12th, Freddie Fermin, RBI walk-off single. Game 2, 10-1 for Boston. Story has a 3-run home run. Carlos Navarez has a 2-run shot. Game 3, a 3-1 win for Boston. Abreu has a home run, and Devers has a 2-run home run. 6.2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 5 Ks from somebody. Didn't write that down. Baltimore and the Angels. Game 1, 4-1 win for the Baltimore Orioles. Henderson has a home run. Henderson also has an RBI triple. 5-2 in Game 2 for the Angels. Joe Adell has a home run. Lugo made his MLB debut this weekend. RBI triple. 7-3 in Game 2. Baltimore wins it. Or Game 3, I apologize. Baltimore wins it. Henderson, a 2-run shot. Handley has 2 RBIs. Toronto sweeps Seattle in Seattle. 6-3, Toronto takes it. Game 1. Nathan Luke's a 2-run home run. 5.1. Where are all of the pitcher names? 5.1 innings pitched, 3 Ks from somebody who pitched that day. 6-3 in Game 2. Tellez has a home run. Bichette has a 2-run shot. Game 3, 9-1 for Toronto. Springer, a 3-run home run. Barger has a home run. And Clase, Jonathan, has 2 RBIs. New York Yankees and Los Atléticos. 10-2, New York wins Game 1. Goldie has a home run. Dominguez homers twice and has a grand slam. That's 3 balls that left the yard that day for him. 11-7 in Game 2 for the Athletics. Urias has a home run. Rooker has a 3-run shot. Judge homers twice, but I call her Langeliers. Shea Langeliers has a 3-run home run. Game 3, 12-2 Yankees win. Ben Rice has a grand slam. Judge has 2 RBIs. Goldie has 2 RBIs. Cabrera has 2 RBIs. Your mom has 2 RBIs. The guy down the block serving pizza, Sally Slices, has 2 RBIs. It was a big day at the ballpark.
What? So you didn't put like any pitcher names down here?
I don't know who pitched Game 3 of the Boston-Kansas City series for Boston, and I don't know who pitched Game 1 of the Toronto series for Toronto.
All right.
And I don't know why I didn't write that down.
Toronto series.
Game 1.
Game 1. That's the 6-3 game, right?
Game 1, 6-3. First 6-3 game on Saturday or on Friday.
Yeah. Kevin Gossman. It's 5 1/3, 7 innings, 3 runs.
You know what's so funny about that? I don't even remember reading Kevin Gossman's name. And on Game 3 of the Boston KC series, Lucas Giolito.
Oh. Welcome back, Lucas Giolito.
2 hits, 5 Ks.
Remember Lucas Giolito?
2018 worst pitcher in baseball.
He has a beard now. Look at that. Look at that beard.
Always has had a beard.
Yeah.
Always has had a beard.
It's crazy how White Sox players leave the White Sox and immediately get like so much more aura.
It's so cool. Wait.
I'm waiting.
I'm also waiting.
Tim Anderson had less aura after he left.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is true.
Jose Abreu less aura after he left. Mind you, it started at 0 and it got to 0, but...
Let's see.
Anything
What's
from
really
the American
important
League that anybody wants to talk about?
Detroit dropping a series to the Rangers. The Rangers are not really that
good.
Rangers
Skubal
are currently 20-21.
Yeah, like they're just below 500 coming out of this weekend.
Spiritu Santo.
I don't love that for the Tigers. I mean,
yeah, not great.
Their offense really didn't come to play. They score 6 runs across all 3 games. They really, really, really benefit from Skubal going out there. Game 1, 12 strikeouts was, I think, gave me like 40 fantasy points or something.
Okay,
but this is really, not a great sign. Obviously, we're still in May. 1 series does not a season make. But this is, you can't drop a series to the team that optioned their first baseman, Jake Berger, because he was hitting below the Mendoza line.
I'll say this
have there is a hit.
I'll say this about Texas. They were having a very rough start to the season, especially offensively, and I think that their true level of talent on their offense is clearly better than their output to this point in the season. And going into this series, the Rangers did a little bit of a shakeup and fired their hitting coach and brought in Aaron Boone's brother as their new hitting coach. And I think a lot of times you see when you have a new voice kind of leading a part of the team that's underperforming, a lot of the times you see them kind of lionize and go and grab a couple series that they're maybe not supposed to right at the very start, just as a kickstart type thing. So I think this series maybe isn't one that I'd put a ton of stock into. I think it's just unfortunate timing to be playing the Rangers right when they were, right when Detroit was.
What else is going on in the? Hey, you know what? I'm proud of my Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas Athletics. I'm proud of them for showing out. This is a tough series against a really tough opponent. And you know what? 11-7 game 2. You go out there and you show them who's boss. I call her Langoliers. 3-run homer, Brooker. I'm noticing a distinct lack of Nicholas Kurtz on this.
Hashtag noticing.
Hashtag noticing on this one. So, perhaps a little bit not ready, but if he sends him down to AAA, you're getting practically the same lineup around him. I still like Tyler Soderstrom. I still like Langoliers. I still like Brent Rooker. I feel like this team is still one of those scrappy, fun teams. They're a real lunch pail team, real first guy in, last guy out, real coach's son. Real quicker than fast.
Bad series for my.
Bro, let me talk, bro. I want to say something cool.
Absolutely not. Bad series for my Seattle Mariners to drop. They had the unfortunate distinction of playing the Toronto Blue Jays before the Toronto Blue Jays realize that they're bad. And they'll realize that at some point in the season, and then they'll stop winning games. It kind of happens to them every year, but they haven't realized that yet. So unfortunately for Seattle, they just played them when they hadn't quite given up yet. And as a result, Toronto takes all 3 games in the series. That is absolutely not what you want to see. Sansoni, do you have something else you want to jump in on before we reach to talk here?
I figure we should let one John Lieber say something really cool.
Yeah, so the Baltimore Orioles only win when Gunnar Henderson shows up.
No.
Okay. The Immaculate
are y'all seeing what's going on in the NBA draft right now?
The NBA draft is happening?
Oh boy. We'll talk about this after the show. Keep going.
The Immaculate Grid. John, what's the Immaculate Grid?
No, John, what's the Immaculate Grid? Oh, it's the lottery. I don't care about the lottery.
Okay, the Immaculate Grid is a 3x3 grid with 9 intersections. You have rows and columns, and the categories can be teams, stats, awards, really anything your little heart desires. The 3 rows today are the New York Yankees of New York, the St. Louis Cardinals of St. Charles County, and the Minnesota Twins of St. Paul. The 3 columns are the Chicago Cubs of Elmwood Park, the Rookie of the Year, and 20-plus win season in pitching.
They're not in St. Charles County.
I know. I just felt I felt like I was doing suburbs for all of them. I said New York though. I should have said like Westchester or something.
Yeah, it would have been funnier.
I had someone genuinely tell me once that it's not St. Louis if you can't look out your bedroom window and see the arch, and I felt like that was one of the
Who told you that? That had to have come from somebody who wasn't from St. Louis.
No, knowing where he lives, he can see it from his bedroom window. He's just being really
so he's just an elitist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not from Atlanta. Anyway, Yankees Cubs. Thoughts? This thing on?
Yankees?
Yankees Cubs. I feel like there's a good one that isn't Chapman or Bellinger or Rizzo. Wow, there's actually more than I thought.
Oh, Mark Leiter Jr.
Oh, no, that's...
What about...
Go on.
I would like to nominate a Cardinal Rookie of the Year.
Sure.
Okay.
Wally Moon.
Wally Moon.
Playing
Wally
from the years
being...
of 1954 to 1965.
Wally, of course, being short for wallet.
Correct.
A twin...
Okay, a Yankee Rookie of the Year, Thurman Munson. Jesus Christ, guys.
Oh, that's so funny.
A, a twin
Twins.
cub. Ildemaro Vargas, twin
Is he a
cub.
twin?
Yeah, he was a twin. He was a twin in 2020.
Wait, no.
Ildemaro, ILDE.
Ilda.
Morrow.
I got Twins Rookie
I
of
don't
the Year.
think he has a twin brother.
Nice.
Ooh, Rockies club information tweet.
Oh boy.
They fired everyone.
The Colorado Rockies announced today they've named AAA hitting coach Jordan Pacheco and minor league hitting coordinator Nick Wilson as interim hitting coaches on the major league staff. Assistant hitting coach Andy Gonzalez will transition to third base coach for the remainder of the 2025 season, previously filled by interim manager Warren Schaefer.
So here's my question: can you really call him interim when they're legitimately going to coach 121 games this year?
Oh, he's going to get the full-time job after the season. Trust.
Well, yeah.
Trust.
Okay.
So,
I have a few Twins Rookies of the Years.
No, I'm going to say mine first.
Okay.
And mine's Chuck Knobloch.
I was probably going to say Chuck Knobloch.
Well, then I think that's who we have to go with.
So that's 31%. So we're not going for the good scores today.
So for Cubs, Yankees, can we do
No, sorry.
Clint Frazier? No, wait. John Birdie.
I love when John goes with a guy who's on the team this year and yet still gets it right.
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
Shut up, John.
Yeah.
What?
For Cardinals 20-win season,
Sure.
I would like to nominate Grover Cleveland Alexander.
I actually just type in Grover. Wait. No, wait. Grove? Who?
Grover Cleveland Alexander.
I don't know who that is. Yeah, there's
Where
not cheating happening right now.
Where did you get that name?
Obviously for
The Grover
Twins.
Cleveland Alexander was he was an old Cardinals pitcher, but he had a movie made about his life, and the guy that played him in the movie ended up being president of the United States. You might have heard of him. His name was
Grover Cleveland.
his name was not Grover Cleveland. No, his name was
Richard Nixon. No, Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Yeah, that's the one.
The actor. Okay, so as everybody knows, we're going to use just off the top of our head names for these ones. So Twins 20-plus season or 20-plus win season. I'm going to go with Camilo Pascual.
For the Yankees 20-win, Tommy John.
That's a surgery, you idiot.
You could have used him for Cardinals 20-win as well.
Yeah, he did a lot. That's why I figured he would have one.
I mean, he probably did pitch a lot until,
Yeah, his arm went like that, and they were like,
Okay, so we still need a Cub Cardinal.
"Oh, they don't do that."
Okay, so Contreras.
How about Grover Cleveland Alexander?
I think we should go with him, man.
I don't
No.
think twice.
How about Jose Quintana?
No.
Patrick Wisdom?
No.
Dexter Fowler.
No. Hate that guy.
Right, how's Patrick Wisdom?
What about Roger Hornsby? Thoughts
Sure.
on Mordecai Brown? I like that name, Mordecai.
How about Grover Cleveland Alexander?
Mordecai Brown, baby. 44. That number that one guy used to wear.
What one guy?
Sebi Savala.
Jesus.
How did you set him up for that? How did you set him up for that?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does the grid and the amount of the hand. Yeah.
You can
Anything
find the
else?
chatting average on Twitter or at
Yep.
the Everything app at
Yep.
the dating EVG.
Or you could like and follow us on everything else.
Yeah.
And download
Such as
the
YouTube.
podcast, such as YouTube, such as podcasts for everybody, such
Yeah.
as the internet.
Rate us 5 stars. You can even send us a text directly and just use 5-star emojis to rate the show. That counts. We count
You
those.
could do that. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I log those in myself at the end of the day each day. So
Yeah, I do. I do as well. So that's why our rating is so high.
With that being said, thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week as we hopefully don't have to talk about a new pope, because that would suck. Have a great time.
We'll catch you next week.